All right, we're back with the series called Suggestions Box, where we suggest things for the game of Overwatch 2. It could be in Stadium, it could be in the base game, it could be perk suggestions, anything of that nature. Make sure to leave some more suggestions in the comments here. Let's take a look at them and see if it needs some more cooking, or if it's a good suggestion, or it's, raw. And it needs more cooking because it's bad. First one, Soldier 76, Helix Array. Helix rockets now deal 25% less damage, but have 2 charges. Also, these are perk suggestions here. I think this would help Soldier deal bursts of damage more consistently to help him secure kills. I think this would have to be a major perk. This one's not too bad. Having 2 rockets, 25% less damage is pretty significant though, because right now it's 120, so 25% is like, puts it down to like 96 damage, if my math is correct. It's probably bad math. But maybe lowering it a flat number from like 120 to 100 and having 2 wouldn't be too bad necessarily. It does kill some of his breakpoints with damage boost and stuff, but the fact that you can spam 2 for 100 damage or 200 damage right off the rip is pretty strong. So that would have to be a major perk, but I don't particularly hate this idea. It could probably replace the sprinting one. For Hanzo, Dragon's Dance. After using Dragon Strike, that's his ultimate, Hanzo gains 20% bonus movement speed and has a 30% reduced cooldown on lunge. This would allow Hanzo to take advantage of targets that take partial damage from the slow moving dragons. The mobility would help or let him get into a better position to secure kills. I think this could be a minor or major. Do you mean like for a few seconds as Dragon Strike is going out, or like permanently after using it one time? We didn't specify here. I'm gonna assume maybe like as you cast Dragon Strike, because the dragon can actually go on for a long time. I think it goes infinitely until it's like off the map. It would have to be a fixed duration. Maybe we can say like 6 seconds, 8 seconds. While Dragon Strike is active, you have a bit more movement speed and stuff. I don't particularly actually hate this perk. I actually think that's a great idea. It reminds me of Alari's perk, where she gains free flight and then like she gets like longer flight during it and can roam around a little bit more while it's active, and it's not really like a long period of time. This only makes Hanzo strong in those small bursts in those particular windows. It's not even a damage thing, it's a mobility thing, and it doesn't annoy other people in terms of like slowing them. It just makes you as a Hanzo faster, so the agency is still on you to figure out the best spot and how to capitalize on it. I actually think this is a good perk. I like this Hanzo one a lot more than the Soldier one, so pretty good suggestions. Next suggestion, make the replays tab its own section of the main menu. It feels like it's in an awkward place to go to your career profile, into history, into replays. I get it, Blizzard doesn't want to clutter the background art with multiple tabs, but I do think one more tab for replays specifically should be fine. I actually 100% agree with this. I actually think it's very hard to find. I get a lot of new players in my comment section and on stream, and then they're just like, where'd you find your replays of your game? It's actually not that intuitive to kind of figure out. Obviously, longtime veterans have figured out how to navigate the windows and find it pretty fast, but it's not very easy for your first time players, and that's something the UI UX team plus the FTUE team, if they have one, first time user experience team, can definitely take a look into. So it's a great suggestion. The second one, you said I suggested this in the hot takes video, but realized this one's more for suggestions, so my apologies if it's covered. Add a difficulty rating for heroes and maps. It would be on a scale of 1 to 5 stars. This would give new players ideas on which heroes to try specifically and what maps are beginner friendly. I get difficulty ratings are subjective, but I think it does give a good baseline idea of how easy or hard some heroes and maps are, especially with how perplexing Overwatch is compared to other FPS games. This quality of life might be nice for brand new players. I actually appreciate how you're taking, you're considering the first time user experience, because anybody watching videos like this would not know how useful star ratings would be for new players. The easiest way to kind of grasp how useful it is to try to play a new game and see if you actually like their star reference. And the problem with the star stuff is because it's subjective, nobody trusts developer star difficulty. I even saw it in Marvel Rivals because they have star difficulty, and everyone's like, yo, how is Psylocke this star while this other hero has like 3 stars? After the first day, everybody began to ignore it. So if you're going to have a star rating, I don't know if this is possible, but like a community voted difficulty rating would actually build more trust into it and have maybe the newer the new players actually consider it a lot more. So because if I go into a game and I see star difficulty nowadays, maybe I'm just speaking personal bias, but I don't trust any of them ever. But if it had like a Steam system where it's like community voted, because I know Steam and Valve do something like that with like Deadlock, you can have player upvoted builds, so it's like trusted stuff. If somehow they're able to get like a community vote, maybe it doesn't have to be baked into the game like active like voting, but like maybe somewhere on socials or somewhere somewhere where we can get players' perception on what they think is difficult or not. I do think it would come pretty close to how your average player perceives hero difficulty, and then we can add those. And I do think it wouldn't be a bad thing. I don't think it takes up any extra clutter on the screen to add a star difficulty. I just think it often gets ignored, but I don't think it hurts to add, like when you hover over the hero, especially in training mode, or even just on the left side underneath like the skin section, you can just find a small section to have some star difficulty. That's super easy to do, I'm pretty sure. And then hopefully there's a way to filter your default hero page by that, because right now it's fixed into the sections, but I do think, I'm just adding another suggestion here, that Overwatch could probably do with customizing their hero select screen, where like you just pin your top 3 heroes or something like that, so they always appear in the center, things like that, so I can click them faster before my teammates, you know what I mean? I can lock it in a little quicker. Anyways, good suggestions. Next one, I think one of Brig's perks should be that her shield bash has a 0.5 second stun. That is a no mega lol from me because of how short Brig's bash cooldown is. It's less about the duration. I know you write 0.5 seconds and you somehow think that makes it good, but the fact that it's a stun itself means it cancels way too many abilities. For example, if I'm sitting on Brig with a 0.5 second stun, now I just wait for Drunker Queen to start her ult and I can just cancel it almost every time. Super easy. Other abilities as well. That's a no for me for this one. Next is a perk suggestion for, I guess, Drunker Queen, the Odessa perk. Gracie's April Fool's ability, which was to pull Odessa to the blade. Is that actually Drunker Queen's first name, Odessa? Didn't know that. To pull Queen to the blade when activated again early. I actually like this. I don't know if that's a little too broken, but I don't know if the perk should permanently change it and have it in reverse. I think the major perk could maybe give you the choice where if you land the knife, you pull the target, or you can pull yourself to them. But it sounds a little too broken, or maybe it's not, because major perks are supposed to be pretty damn strong. But that does mean Queen gets crazy mobility, and that honestly might make her one of the best heroes in the game. So who knows at that point? Let me know what you guys think in the comments if you have the choice to fly to them. I had a great time with that ability in April Fool's, so like maybe it's leaking a little bit too much here. Next suggestion is that Lifeweaver should be able to place his platform sideways, so it can be cover that can move forward. Placing a platform sideways, and then if you activate it, what happens then? Like, does it just like fling you? Does it just push you forward and back? That seems a little complex physics-wise and a little unintuitive when you play against the Lifeweaver. I don't think so. I think that kind of goes against what his intentions are. That could be something to be considered for like a new hero's abilities, where they can spawn a shield, because a platform is basically acting like a spawnable shield at this point that can be moved a little bit. And I don't know if the game has a hero that does that. Obviously Sigma has a shield he can spawn, but he can just move it forward and back and then it stops. For this one, like if you have a new hero that can spawn a platform that you can like make it move forward, move back while it's already out, and make it roll sideways, wouldn't be a bad idea. But like for Lifeweaver specifically, no. Next is another perk suggestion, though this was a while ago, finally got around to it. To be fair, guys, we have a giant pool of suggestions thrown into a random mix, and I'm sitting here hitting shuffle on these takes here. So some of these have been sitting for a while, because I see this one's from March of 2025. This perk suggestion was Lucio's wavelength boost, that's the name, where now the boop, or the sound wave, gains 100% range increase. And the rationale is that boop is one of the strongest abilities for denying and making space, while also enabling Lucio to brawl. However, boop has little room for error, as failing a certain boop can leave your team and Lucio open to pushes, flanks, dives, and losing fights and brawls. With a longer range boop, it has room for error with more time to regenerate the ability before enemies are on top of you and provide you mid-range poke. That is a very strong perk, if the fact that you can now do it from afar and disrupt people non-stop with knockbacks. You'd probably have to lower the cooldown, or I'd have to see how it plays. So maybe not a 100% range increase where it's effectively doubled, but maybe just like 50% more increased range could go a long way. But my initial thoughts on seeing that is that sounds incredibly broken and really annoying to play against. And the last thing players want in this game is more things that annoy them and things that inhibit their hero. Because we see that with like Roadhog hooks and sleep darts and Suzus, things that inhibit your ability to play, and getting constantly booped back by a Lucio who's not even playing in a punish range but just chilling so far away and constantly booping you back must be the most infuriating thing of all time. So I don't know about this one. I'm on the fence with that perk. UI suggestion: let players choose between Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2 in icons and sound effects, which is client side only. People don't talk enough about how it's become so much harder to tell what's going on after Blizz replaced all of Overwatch's visual and sound effects with realistic gunshot noises. That just makes them harder to tell apart, and fancier HUD displays, which just lowers its visual readability. I'm gonna be honest, I thought their sound effects with realistic stuff is actually better. I can still tell who's shooting what, and it gives data to you. It might be confusing if you're not used to it, but like I remember when they redesigned some of the gun sounds, like the gun sounds didn't change too much apart from like Ana's, and I think I like the old Ana sound better. That's like the only one, but everything else sounds pretty solid. And like I know when you shoot like your gun in, let's say, a Route 66, like one of those little tunnels, or you're out in the open, the sound is realistic where you can kind of tell where it's coming from. So if it sounds more hollowed in, I know if I hear the bullet from a distance that soldier is inside an area and he's shooting from inside and not from the outside. So the fact that it gives battle data is actually tactical in a sense, and I feel like a lot of people aren't appreciating, and I do think Overwatch's sound design is one of the best in the business, so I don't really think it's that much harder to tell. Even if you didn't understand that it's shot from inside or outside, you can still tell it's like soldier's gun. Like I feel like they did a pretty good job making sure that's still that. I think the bigger issue is visual clarity, less so sound, but that wasn't what your take was about or your suggestion. Now your second topic here is about the HUD, the heads up display and UI stuff. I actually think the Overwatch 2's UI is cleaner and simpler visually. If you look back at the Overwatch 1 one, it was just very, I don't know, there's something about it that just felt a little old school, and maybe some of you prefer that, but for me, I actually like the readability and simplicity of Overwatch 2's UI more. But maybe that's just me. Maybe people will disagree. I think a lot of people are just falling back to nostalgia because that's what they liked back in the day, and they don't like change. But I do think the visual UI stuff on this game is better. Even seeing stuff like, you know, when you damage boost someone as Mercy, the center of your screen, same as Zenyatta, you can see the orbs and the stuff on the center of your screen. All that UI stuff, same with like Winston's bubble and like Ryan's shield, all that HP sitting in the center of everything versus it being on the bottom left, because that's what Overwatch 1 was. Your Winston bubble, you can't see the HP. It's only on the bottom left UI, not in the center. I think their changes were good, so I don't necessarily agree with any of these suggestions, to be honest with you. Next, my perk suggestion is that I think it would be nice for Sombra to have more utility-focused perks, specifically something to do with hacking health packs. If minor, I'd say making hacking health packs faster and having a cooldown reduction. While for major, I think it would be cool if she could automatically hack health packs within a radius while stealth, or just ult charge for hacked health pack healing, but it feels like low-hanging fruit. Yeah, we're not going back to that, because that ends up opening strats that feel a little unintended, where you just kind of take damage, farm ult for Sombra by just taking a hacked health pack. That we're not going back to 2017 or 2016 when that was the thing. But I think more utility-focused perks isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think one of the biggest ones was just genuinely allowing Sombra to quote-unquote hack teammates to either A, heal them similar to one of those like bonus modes they added a few months ago or maybe over a year ago, or B, hacking a teammate in the sense that they cannot be CC'd for like 2 seconds or something. So like the trade-off is Sombra isn't in their backline assassinating anybody, but she's sitting there hacking a teammate to kind of like give them a debuff or a buff where they can't be stunned or CC'd for just a brief moment. I thought I saw that somewhere, and I actually think that's kind of cool, and that could have potential to be cooked. Next suggestion is add a 5-second timer to swap perks, so that if you accidentally select the wrong one, you're not locked into a perk that has no use. I would actually lower the forgiveness time to 3 seconds, and if you press a single ability or you shoot your gun, you can no longer do it. Because if you're doing your perk in the middle of the battle, in the middle of a fight, and quickly pressing the button, and then you're already active combat, there's no way in hell you can like you should be able to swap it at that point. But if you're in spawn and you select your perk, I think you can have a bit of a window. Or if you're not getting shot and you're not using an ability or shooting your weapon, maybe only if you're moving, but like that's about it. Because like that'll open up the possibility, like if you have a 5-second window and you get your perk gives you a new ability, what's stopping you from using the new ability and then switching perks, right? That would probably break a lot of the code and the stuff. So it would have to be out of combat. But like this sounds like a developer's nightmare, like mid combat. So it could probably be one of those, like if you happen to choose your your perk in spawn, you have a forgiveness window, and that's like your only option maybe, just to like get rid of any potential bugs, game-breaking bugs. Last one. As a Lifeweaver main, let me share some perk ideas. One of the minor perks gives Life Grip a cleanse, which is nice, but really situational. So what if we add the cleanse to the regular kit, and as a perk, Life Grip had a 2.5 second cooldown reduction by default, so it's now from 18 seconds to 15.5 seconds, and then doubled, so 5-second cooldown less when cleansing an effect. So from 18, it would go to 13 seconds. That would make the perk more viable in those situations where you're fighting an Ana, Mauga, Ashe, and not just getting a longer cooldown than Ana's nade and can barely do anything against her. So you're saying an overall buff to Weaver where now he will always cleanse on Life Grip. And then the perk itself would be to lower the cooldown if it happens to cleanse a negative effect. Right now, one of the major perks for Lifeweaver gives you 30 healing on the next blossom after dashing, and it's a perk that requires you to waste your dash, and only a few times will you notice that extra healing. So instead, the suggestion here is to make the next healing blossom pink for you and everyone else to make it more obvious, and to give that healed ally a 10% damage boost, 10% fire boost, and 10% damage reduction for 1.5 seconds. These are minor boosts that can make the perk less niche and better with more heroes. First one sounds a little too strong if you have a cleanse on your grip now. This is KarQ 2.0. The fact that you can cleanse and take them out of danger sounds a little too powerful to me personally, so I'm not a big fan of that first one, especially as a minor perk. But that major perk idea is kind of good, because I agree that the extra healing on the dash is kind of a not so great perk. I don't obviously main Lifeweaver, so maybe other Lifeweaver mains disagree, but I played him a little bit, and I've always felt like you're right, that like for me to get that extra bonus healing, I'd have to retroactively just like use my dash, even if I don't need to, just to get extra healing. That's the trade-off. Like I've never been a big fan of it, but now it gives me more reason to use that if it does give my ally like some extra buffs. Fire rate boost, damage reduction. And 1.5 seconds isn't so long, but if you time it well, it could be kind of good. For example, I see like my Ryan about to do an earth shatter, and in the animation I hear he's like, I'm gonna shatter, 3, 2, 1, hammer, and then like I recognize my Ryan's about to do it, so this is the moment I quickly dash and then quickly toss a blossom to make him a little bit stronger. Give him a little bit of a fire rate boost. Fire rate boost wouldn't do anything too much to his swings, but like the extra damage boost could be big, and a little bit of damage reduction in case he gets shot during the animation could be big as well. So I like that one a lot more, that major perk. So good suggestion there. Not a big fan of the first one. Okay, and that's it for the episode, guys. Thank you for listening. Add some more in the comments. Bye.